Today is going to be a pretty fun MLB recap because we have a few trades to talk about. The Royals are just shipping out everyone, it seems like. We also have to talk about the fact that Arte Moreno, or Arte Moreno, however you say his name, he is actually not selling the Angels. So if you're an Angels fan, I just want to say my heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry. If you're unfamiliar with Mr. Moreno, not only has he wasted the prime of Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, he's handed out these contracts right here, but we'll come back to this in a second because it's horrific. He might be the worst owner in sports. Then again, people do own the A's and the Pirates, so we have to kind of all put them in the same category of owners that are embarrassing the game of baseball. So, yeah. Now, before we get into all of those trades and news, I do want to remind you guys that today is the final day for Hall of Fame voting. This is my ballot right here. Now, for some context, obviously, there are some players that are going to get in. I believe that Carlos Beltran should get in. Players like Jeff Kent, Andrew Jones, very underrated in my opinion. And then other guys like Jimmy Rollins and Torrey Hunter, I'm going to vote for them. Not that my vote matters, but I would give them a vote just to keep them on the ballot. Going into 2024, 5, 6, I just want them to stay on the ballot because Torrey Hunter, I mean, he was 2 doubles away from 500 for his career. He has 9 gold gloves and almost 2,500 base hits. He was pretty good, and same for Jimmy Rollins, although Jimmy kind of faded towards the end of his career. But let me know in the comments, who would you vote for? Who wouldn't you vote for? Let me know the reason why, and if you guys are wondering why I'm not voting for A-Rod or Manny, they got caught twice. I mean, that's bad. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Michael A. Taylor going to the Twins in a rare occasion where 2 teams in the same division end up making a trade. So the Twins are getting Michael A. Taylor. We'll talk about him in a second. The Royals are getting a young relief pitcher by the name of Evan Sisk. He was drafted in the 16th round by the Cardinals back in 2018. Last year, he was almost unhittable. He walks a lot of guys, which is kind of troublesome, but in 63 innings, he had a 1.57 ERA and an 11 strikeouts per 9. Again, the walks were a problem. He was almost walking 4.5 per 9 innings, but if the Royals do anything well, it's developing relief pitchers, and they're taking a chance on not only Sisk, but Mr. Steven Cruz as well. He's going to be 24 years old entering this next season, and we can see that 2022 was a year to forget. He had a 5.14 ERA. He's a strikeout machine, 11.6 per 9 innings, but again, just like Mr. Evan Sisk, he has a walk issue as well, so the Royals, they're just kind of hoping that they can develop these guys into studs in the next few years, and honestly, they probably are going to. Now, let's talk about Michael A. Taylor because he is one of the best defenders in all of baseball, and I'm not a big fan of the DRS stat. If we're talking about outfielders, I really like outs above average a little bit better, OAA, but if we're talking about the top defenders according to DRS since 2020, Michael Taylor, Joey Gallo, and Byron Buxton are all in the top 3. You can see that Buxton is tied with 29 with Mookie Betts and Kyle Tucker. Michael Taylor is on the Twins. Joey Gallo is on the Twins. Byron Buxton, obviously, on the Twins. We haven't even talked about Max Kepler, who is a plus defender as well. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The 2023 Minnesota Twins might be the greatest defensive outfield in the history of baseball. All of these guys, they can go get it. They have cannons for arms. I know that Byron Buxton is the best of the bunch. At least that's my opinion. I think that he is better than Michael Taylor simply because Byron, he's got the speed and everything. But obviously, the numbers suggest that Michael is actually better. I mean, my opinion is trying to outweigh facts, which doesn't make sense, so I'm going to shut up. But that's why they are grabbing Michael Taylor. They want to make sure that Byron Buxton can have a day off every so often, and let's say that a lefty is on the bump. Michael Taylor is fairly serviceable. He has a career 310 on base percentage and a 722 OPS versus lefties. That's good for a 100 OPS plus, so Michael Taylor about as mid as it gets offensively, especially against lefties, but defensively, he's one of the best in the game, so he's going to be a pretty good addition in my opinion. And again, the Twins going into this next season might have the greatest defensive outfield ever, but someone's going to bring up some team from the 1911s that had Bucktooth McGee as their left fielder and, you know, whatever in center field, Charlie McDougal or something, I don't know. So this next trade is super interesting because by all accounts, by all measures, Adalberto Mondesi has been written off by the game of baseball, and that's because 1, he was suspended for steroids, 2, he can't stay healthy, and 3, it almost seems like he swings with his eyes closed. He had a 0 OPS plus and 50 at-bats in 2022, but again, that was from him trying to come back from injury. From 2018 to 2019, I want to read you guys his stats. In 690 at-bats, this guy had 33 doubles, 13 triples, 23 home runs, and 75 stolen bases. He had a 97 OPS plus, so of course that's below average by 3%. But we know that Adalberto Mondesi, when healthy and when he's not closing his eyes when swinging, he can actually be a serviceable baseball player. Now, he's not the best offensively. I will give him that. His speed really helps out, but I just want to show you guys this right here. Look at 2020 Mondesi. He was top 2% in speed. He was top 11% in defense. His arm is really good. When he puts the ball in play, it's actually hit pretty hard. We can see that his max exit velo and average exit velocity was top 20% basically. Again, the problem with Mondesi, he chases at everything. He's worse than Javier Baez when it comes to swinging at pitches inside the zone. But again, if the Red Sox can figure out this guy, they're going to be in love because defensively he's amazing. Although in 2022, I will say his sprint speed was basically cut in half, and I think that's because he was simply trying to get in baseball shape. He wasn't giving it 100% because he was just trying to get healthy. But I like Adalberto Mondesi's ceiling, and if you've played MLB The Show before, you know that this card was absolutely insane. His swing path is really good. But yeah, the Red Sox are just trying to find a stopgap until Trevor Story is healthy. Nothing more, nothing less. Mondesi, he is definitely going to be a rental at the very least and probably DFA'd or released after this season, but that's just my best guess. All the Red Sox had to give up was Josh Taylor, who did not throw a single baseball in 2022. Now, when he's healthy, we can see that he has a 3.7 ERA and 129 strikeouts in his first 102 innings, so not the best in the world, but as a lefty specialist, he can be pretty devastating. In 2021, when he was healthy, he had 11.3 strikeouts per 9. He did walk 4.3 per 9, so he does have command issues, but so does every other relief pitcher in baseball, it seems like. So if you're a Red Sox fan, let me know what you think of this trade. It has over 5,000 likes, which means it's actually getting some traction. Baseball fans know just how good Adalberto Mondesi can be. Of course, his career stats are going to suggest that he's not very good, but he's a stud defender. He is one of the fastest players in baseball when healthy. Again, the 2022 sprint speed was not great, but for a team that is just trying to stay afloat, the Boston Red Sox, I feel like this is a pretty good trade, and all they had to do was give up a guy that didn't even play last season, and they have other bullpen arms that they can use. They had a really good offseason. Joely Rodriguez, Kenley Jansen, a few other guys. They'll be fine. All right, Angels fans, I am giving you a collective hug right now. The entire baseball community is embracing you right now because Mr. Moreno, he was convinced that he no longer wanted to be part of the Angels organization. He was going to be selling, but then the Angels messed around and had a pretty good offseason, so they're going to be vastly improved going into 2023. At least that's my opinion. I'm knocking on wood so I don't jinx them because the Angels always seem to get jinxed. But as we can see, he's given out contracts like $38 million to Zach Cosart. He had a negative 1.1 WAR. Josh Hamilton, I love Josh Hamilton back in the day. He was one of my favorite players of all time. He was weird towards the end of his career. That one sucked, $125 million. Gary Matthews. Albert Pujols was absolutely horrific towards the end of that $240 million contract. Rendon can't stay healthy. Justin Upton might be the worst contract ever. And CJ Wilson, he had some decent seasons, but that also doesn't include the fact that they acquired Vernon Wells, who was one of the worst players in baseball when he went to the Angels. I mean, we know the stakes that are at hand right now for the Angels. You have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, quite possibly the two greatest baseball players that have ever existed, up there with Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. If we're talking about talent, I mean, they're the cream of the crop. And the fact that you haven't made the playoffs one time. Mike Trout has like 11 playoff at-bats. That's 11 more than me and you. But again, one more time, I am hugging all of you Angels fans. Hopefully, greener pastures are ahead. But that does it for today's video. If you click on this button over here, that'll get you to subscribe. Don't miss any videos. And also right below that, there's a video that YouTube wants you to watch. So click on it. Watch it, please.